me explain a little bit what the program is about, where the money that we will get from this run and that we got from last year, what it actually means. So, you see it on and nothing's happening and I'm not pointing it in the right direction? Yeah, there you go. So, in the Philippines, surprisingly, every day 95 children die of malnutrition, meaning they haven't had enough to eat and they probably have been sick as well, had diarrhea or pneumonia or some other disease. But underlying that is malnutrition. If you're chronic malnutrition, which means a long-term malnutrition that's been going on for years, but it's not acute, so you don't die from it, it's called stunting. And that stunting usually manifests itself in that children are very short. So you see the child on the left-hand side in the black shirt, black top. That's a 4-year-old child. And the child on the right-hand side is a 2-year-old child. Should be substantially taller, but is as tall as the 4-year-old. This is what happens when you are constantly eating too little and not nutritious food. You become smaller, or you stay smaller. So the surprising thing is that 1 in every 3 Filipino children are stunted. And if you are stunted when you're born, it stays with you, or born and until you turn 3, basically, over your 2nd year. It's permanent, it's irreversible, and it's even fatal, because if you get other diseases, you are much more susceptible to infections, and even, of course, to death. Children who are stunted die earlier. They also never develop mentally, physically, as well as children who are not stunted. So it means that they're forever behind in their mental development, in their development and ability to learn things, to read and write, to do well in school, for example. It also has effects, we know now, that on productivity. So let's say a laborer who was well fed will produce a lot more, will be able to work a lot harder than a person who was stunted and malnourished in childhood. So stunting leads to less productivity or low productivity and lower wages, and also lower school attainment. So, and it also usually leads to earlier onset of diseases, or degenerative diseases in adulthood. Doesn't want to play with me? So, undernutrition in the 1,000 first days of a child's life. We're counting the 1,000 first days from conception until the child turns 3, basically, so at the end of 2 years. It actually costs the country a lot of money. So it costs about $4.6 billion a year. If I would tell you that Yolanda costs the country in GDP 3.6 billion, you understand the enormity of this loss. It's even bigger than the damages from Yolanda. So the economic burden of this stunting is quite enormous and should not be there for a middle-income country, in my opinion at least. So nutrition really is the foundation for economic development. If we have well-fed people, people are healthy, they can go to school, finish school, find good jobs, be productive, and so on. So poverty, of course, causes malnutrition, but malnutrition also leads to continued poverty. And so if we reduce malnutrition, we save lives, we lower health costs, of course, because children and adults won't be susceptible to other diseases. We also build on the human capital, which is the most important capital that the Philippines has. It also will improve economic growth. We all want that. It's also a moral imperative. How can we leave 1/3 of our children behind? How can we leave them malnourished? We cannot. And of course, it's also good governance. So all the mayors and governors and congressmen out there, you have a moral imperative to see to it that your constituencies, the children in your constituencies, are well fed and are not malnourished. So what can we do? That's why we're here, right? We can ensure that children are well fed from the day that they're conceived in the mother's womb. So making sure that the mother herself is well fed and healthy during pregnancy. We can of course make sure that the child is born safely with health personnel present and so on, and we must make sure that the mother starts to breastfeed within 1 hour of birth. And that the mother continues to breastfeed, completely only breastfeed for 6 months, and then starts to wean the child into other foods. She can continue breastfeeding for as long as she likes. So the first 1,000 days is crucial when it comes to nutrition. But it's also crucial in terms of other things for the child. The child needs to be safe. The child needs to be stimulated. The child needs to be loved. A neglected child is never a happy child, and never a child that's going to develop into its full potential. So there are many things that need to take place during those first 1,000 days. And it is more likely that children who are not stunted during their childhood also are able to escape poverty, because they have the full potential of their bodies and minds. Oops. I've said the 1,000 first days several times. It's pregnancy. It's the first 6 months when the child should be breastfed only. And then from 6 months to the end of the 2 years, that is all together the 1,000 first days. And those days are irreversible. You can never say, oh, we'll just feed the child when they're 3. No, sorry, it doesn't work. It's too late. The 1,000 first days are the most important days in any human being's life. Please. Okay, so the 1,000 first days is a foundation for a child to be able to grow, to learn, and to earn in the future. And that is what UNICEF wants to do with the funds that we get from, is that it? There. So a child who breastfeeds or not stunted is 10 times more likely to overcome the most life-threatening diseases in childhood. They are 4.6 times more likely to finish school, and they are 50% more likely to earn more as adults. So we need to invest in the 1,000 first days. We need to prevent deaths of children. So, of all child deaths before a child turns 5 actually happens in the first year. 50% of all child deaths during the first year happens in the first month. And many, or most of them are actually related to nutrition. We need to make sure that more children not only enroll in school, but also attend school and actually learn in school. We need to make sure that people can increase their wages so they can move out of poverty. And this will boost the gross national product and the growth of the entire country. And therefore, we can also break the intergenerational cycle of poverty, meaning poverty is no longer going to be inherited from adult to child, from child to adult, you know, that cycle. Okay, so thank you very much. It was a bit long, but I hope you now understand why this run is so important. And I will now hand over to Anna again.
Thank you, Ms. Letta.